Pedro Martinez, Chris Sale, Kurt Schilling, all big, impactful names that the Boston Red Sox have traded for. Join me as we look back on some of the most impactful trades in Red Sox history.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Hurlbut, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I'm here every day to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And it's completely free. So you might as well take advantage of that because Locked On is your team every day. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. I'll tell you a lot more about FanDuel later on in today's show, but welcome to the show. Hope you all had a wonderful holiday. I love Christmas. It's my favorite time of the year. So much joy, so much laughter, so much giving, and people exchanging wonderful gifts and all the decorations and all the lights and the carols. I absolutely love it, and the holiday was great for me. I'm actually wearing a new Red Sox sweatshirt that says Boston Baseball on it that I did get as one of my gifts this year, and it was very lovely, and I am looking forward to trying out all of my gifts and using them, and I hope your holiday was relaxing but also well spent with your loved ones. And the Red Sox hopefully spent the holiday continuing to think about how they want to improve this roster during the rest of this offseason. So while we wait for the Red Sox to make more moves, I'm going to be looking back at some of the biggest and most impactful trades in Red Sox history that we can remember as we think about the Red Sox and whether they might make more moves this offseason, whether that's through trade or through a free agent signing. The possibilities are still endless. I'm going to be talking about a realistic option out of the bullpen, somebody that the Red Sox could bring in. Is this a pitcher that they could make a move for? And I'm also going to be discussing a trade that they did make on Christmas Eve. So lots to be discussed, but when you think about the Red Sox and their history, there have been tons of players who have made an impact, who have come into the franchise via trade, and a lot of those players that they traded for helped them win a championship after. Because when you think about the Red Sox and this offseason trading for Garrett Crochet and giving up some big name prospects for him, guys who could pan out in the majors. Yes, they might, but you got a guy who is your ace of the future, hopefully, and somebody who can ideally help you win a championship or two. So I look back at some of these other moves that were relatively similar and see the impact that they made. And one of those moves was when the Red Sox traded Pedro Martinez in 1997 and gave up right-handed pitcher Carl Pavano and right-handed pitcher Tony Armas Jr. The 1997 season was a disappointing one for the Red Sox, in large part because the team didn't replace departed free agent Roger Clemens in the starting rotation. But that all changed when general manager Dan Duquette set up an immediate and long-term rejuvenation when he acquired Pedro, who was only 26 at the time, for a pair of pitching prospects. Pedro had just experienced a breakout season with the Expos in 97, winning the first of his 3 career Cy Young Awards. In Boston, he then went on a 7-year run in which he established himself as one of the best pitchers of all time, going 117-37 with a 2.52 ERA. And his final start with the Red Sox was a sterling performance in Game 3 of the 2004 World Series against the Cardinals. Pavano went on to have 108 wins in his career and Armas 153. So it's clear that the deal was a monumental victory for the Red Sox. So that goes to show that you have to give to get in this league, and you don't always know if prospects are going to pan out. And when you have the opportunity to trade for somebody who is already solidified that you know could help improve your team, you make that move 7 days a week. So another big impactful trade that the Red Sox made that I always think back to is when the Red Sox acquired catcher Jason Varitek and right-handed pitcher Derek Lowe. I mean, talk about two big-name players that made such a difference to the Red Sox, and Varitek still even does since he's on the coaching staff. This took place on July 31st, 1997, and the Red Sox gave up right-handed pitcher Heathcliff Slocum in the deal. A few months before he got Pedro, Duquette made what proved to be an absolutely brilliant move when he capitalized on Seattle's desperate need for help in the bullpen by dealing a mediocre closer in Slocum for 2 prospects. Ultimately, those prospects became pivotal Red Sox contributors, which is safe to say. Varitek emerged as the starting catcher and later the captain for the World Series championship teams in 2004 and 2007. And Lowe was a swingman who made an all-star team as a closer and another one as a starter. And he was the winning pitcher in all 3 clinching games in that 04 postseason. Slocum ended up pitching just 84 games over 2 seasons in Seattle, going 2-9 with a 4.97 ERA. So again, safe to say the Red Sox won that trade. Another trade that's super notable that I absolutely loved was when the Red Sox acquired right-handed pitcher Curt Schilling. They gave up left-handed pitcher Casey Fossum, right-handed pitcher Brandon Lyon, left-handed pitcher Jorge De La Rosa, and outfielder Mike Goss. This took place on November 28th, 2003. In yet another trade that helped pave the way for the epic championship season of 2004, Theo Epstein spent his entire Thanksgiving week finalizing this trade that made Red Sox fans very excited. The Red Sox had to finalize a contract extension for Schilling before he agreed to waive his no-trade clause. It did come down to the wire, but Epstein ended up getting the job done. And also, so did Schilling, who won 21 games in 2004 and also helped fuel the Red Sox to that second championship in 2007. After teaming with Randy Johnson to slay the Yankees in the 01 World Series, Schilling brought instant bravado and credibility with him to Boston. So another impactful player. I mean, there were so many impactful players on that 2004 Red Sox team, but it's crazy to think about what they had to give up in order to get these absolute stars. The Chris Sale trade, which obviously was later because that didn't happen until December 6th, 2016, is a notable trade that I always think of, especially more so now that the Red Sox did make another trade with the White Sox for Garrett Crochet. Chris Sale will always be remembered as a guy who brought the Red Sox a championship. They gave up a haul of prospects in second baseman Yoan Moncada, right-handed pitcher Michael Kopech, outfielder Louis Alexander Basabe, and right-handed pitcher Victor Diaz. So that was a haul for Chris Sale, but Dave Dombrowski had already made a huge investment in terms of dollars, $217 million to be exact, to get David Price a year earlier. So this time he traded that big haul of prospects to the White Sox to get another ace who at the time was very much in his prime. The move showed immediate dividends as Chris Sale became the second pitcher in Red Sox history to strike out 300 batters in a season in 2017, while finishing second in the AL's Cy Young Award voting. And then in 2018, he came out of the bullpen in the 9th inning to throw the pitch that clinched the World Series, striking out Manny Machado at Dodger Stadium. So obviously, in hindsight, the extension of Chris Sale ended up not being what Red Sox fans were hoping for because of the fact that he couldn't stay healthy towards the end of his time in Boston. But nobody can argue that if you look at the trade itself, the Red Sox won that trade because, yes, obviously Michael Kopech has pitched pretty well. And yes, obviously Moncada has been pretty good, but they haven't made the type of impact that Chris Sale made on the Red Sox when he first came to Boston. And the fact that he brought them a championship and he was the best starting pitcher on that championship team, you can't really look back at the trade itself and say the Red Sox didn't win it, because it definitely worked out in the Red Sox favor, and they got what they were hoping to get when they brought in Sale, which is a championship. And then obviously the extension was tough, and I think that is part of why John Henry has been so hesitant to give out long-term contracts to pitchers right now, is because he feels like the last time he did that, it didn't really work out in his favor. But at the time, the trade definitely worked out really well for the Red Sox because their goal was to win a championship, and they were going to make moves that helped put them in that position. And that's exactly what Dombrowski did. And looking back on it, the Red Sox did a good job with it. Then when they got Josh Beckett. So this was a trade that they made with the Marlins on November 24th, 2005. And the Red Sox acquired right-handed pitcher Josh Beckett, third baseman Mike Lowell, and right-handed pitcher Guillermo Mota. The Red Sox did give up a bit of a haul here too with shortstop Hanley Ramirez, right-handed pitcher Anibal Sanchez, right-handed pitcher Harvey Garcia, and right-handed pitcher Jesus Delgado. So this was a classic example of one team that wanted to win immediately and another one that was very much trying to rebuild and load up on prospects. So the Red Sox and Marlins ended up executing a blockbuster trade that was beneficial for both teams. This wasn't really like the Red Sox made out so much better, because the Marlins addressed their needs as well. Beckett was a centerpiece of the trade from the Red Sox standpoint, and many viewed Lowell as a throw-in that the Marlins were trying to get rid of after the third baseman had the worst offensive season of his career in 2005. But he ended up turning out to be much more than a throw-in, as he emerged as the most valuable player of the 2007 World Series, in which the Red Sox ended up sweeping the Rockies 4-0. He was MVP of that series for sure, and he absolutely went off. Then you have Beckett, who was MVP of the ALCS when the Red Sox came storming back from a 3-1 series deficit to beat Cleveland. The Red Sox definitely don't win the 2007 World Series without that trade and either of them involved. And then Ramirez ended up becoming a star for the Marlins, and Sanchez also developed into a quality starting pitcher. So they definitely got what they were looking for in terms of development and having prospects that they could use within their own system to get them to the level of competing well in the majors. So it kind of did work out in both teams' favor, but those are just a few of some big trades to look back on that ended up working out for the Red Sox. Another one that pops into my head is when they traded Nomar Garciaparra for Orlando Cabrera. And they also brought Doug Minkowitz in from the Twins, and they ended up giving up, besides Garciaparra, outfielder Matt Merton. And that took place on July 31st, 2004. So that was obviously a big trade, but the Red Sox ended up winning the World Series that year, so can't really say they did the wrong thing. So there have been a variety of different impactful trades that have really shaped the history of the Boston Red Sox in the 2000s. But the point that I'm making with that is you give up prospects to get players that are proven. You build up your farm system so that you can trade guys to bring in the guys who are going to contribute to your team now. So the Red Sox have done a lot of that in their history. And as they look to continue to improve the team this offseason, will they make more big trades? I'm not thinking so, but there is the opportunity to still sign some free agents. And coming up, I'm going to be talking about a pitcher who's still available on the market that could be a viable option for Boston as we head closer and closer to spring training. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That definitely happened to me. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was still paying for. And Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. For me, one of the best features is the subscription tracker. I've used it to cancel services I wasn't using anymore, and I've already saved a ton. Plus, with their goals feature, I've been able to automatically set aside money for my future. No more stressing about budgeting every month. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. I'm telling you, there's not much worse than paying for subscriptions that you don't even know about. So make sure you clear that all out and not be spending all this unwanted money every month on random subscription services that you don't even need. when looking back on big trades in Red Sox history, it's easy to think about the impact that those players made. And when you make a big trade, for example, this offseason, like trading for Garrett Crochet, that means you are in winning mode. You're no longer trying to rebuild, because if you're trying to rebuild, you're trying to load up on prospects and you're keeping your best prospects. Like the Red Sox don't trade Kyle Teal if they're still looking to improve the farm system. They are now at a point where they are ready to win, and they made a statement move by bringing in Garrett Crochet. And that means that they're trying to win championships. And if the Red Sox win a championship or two with Garrett Crochet in a Red Sox uniform, then they got what they needed out of that trade, because that is the biggest goal. So it's always fun to look back on some of those historically big moves that the Red Sox have made, but they still need to make a big move or two this offseason in order for us to feel really confident in the team that they're fielding for 2025. And one option who's still on the board is closer Tanner Scott. Now, the Red Sox bullpen as is would likely have Liam Hendriks closing games, with Aroldis Chapman being the bridge guy to him. Then maybe you sprinkle in Justin Slayton and Garrett Whitlock as the other two prime pitchers that you use out of the pen. And those are 4 solid arms, assuming that Liam Hendriks can come back and pitch effectively. But you don't really know that for sure, and you're not really certain how he's going to look when he comes back. So if you don't want the uncertainty when it comes to the closer position, they can go out and acquire somebody who has proven himself in that role and has been very solid. And that is pitcher Tanner Scott. It has been a successful offseason for the Red Sox in the pitching department so far by picking up Garrett Crochet and then a high-risk, high-reward free agent in Walker Buehler, and a lefty with some high upside in Patrick Sandoval, who should be ready to return from Tommy John surgery at some point in the second half of the season. But again, he's coming off injury, so you don't really know how he's going to pitch. But all 3 of those additions are starting pitchers. The only really impactful move the Red Sox have made to improve its bullpen thus far was signing Aroldis Chapman, and they're hoping he still has something left in the tank at 36 years old. The fact that he still throws 100 miles an hour gives them some promise. They also signed reliever Justin Wilson, but they're not really sure where they're going to play him yet. So the bullpen could still use another solidified arm. Now, with Kenley Jansen gone in free agency, it makes it pretty clear that that bona fide arm should be a closer if they do bring in another reliever, because it's somebody who they know they can turn to in the 9th inning that they can rely on. And there's one clear top free agent in the bullpen department, which is 2024 All-Star and former San Diego Padres playoff standout, Tanner Scott. Now, acquiring Scott would make the Red Sox a far deeper back end of the bullpen before opening day comes around, and the pitching staff would be looking really nice. Scott is 30 years old and owned a 1.75 ERA last season in 72 innings, striking out 84 batters. In 150 innings since the start of the 2023 season, his ERA sits at 2.04 with 188 strikeouts. He's also made big strides in cutting down his walks, nearly cutting his walk rate in half from the 2021 and 2022 seasons. The Red Sox have been prioritizing pitchers with swing and miss stuff this offseason, and he has that in spades. He's the best closer currently available. And like I said before, we can make a strong argument that the Red Sox don't need a closer. But the problem is, will they be willing to pay whatever the market says Scott is worth to secure that? Because with the way that John Henry has been operating this offseason, it doesn't seem like he's willing to spend a crazy amount of money on pitching. For example, Corbin Burnes, they were in the conversation to potentially acquire Burnes for a good portion of this offseason. But then when they went out and acquired Garrett Crochet and signed Walker Buehler, that to me feels like they're done addressing the rotation, because they aren't interested in paying Corbin Burnes what he wants. And they feel like they filled their holes with the guys that they have, because they acquired somebody they feel like is an ace in Garrett Crochet. And then they have the guys like Tanner Houck, Brian Bayo, and Cutter Crawford, who they're hoping show some improvement in 2025. But Tanner Scott is somebody to me who I have wanted for a while in a Red Sox uniform. I literally said before the trade deadline this past year, bring Tanner Scott to Boston. And I knew that the Padres weren't going to get rid of him because they were going to be a playoff team most likely. But when the offseason hit, I knew he was going to be a free agent. So I said he would be a guy who would really help solidify the Red Sox bullpen. I am not confident in the Red Sox feeling like they would be willing to spend the kind of money that he would be demanding. But there's a possibility, because if the Red Sox look at their bullpen right now, I think they know that there's a ton of upside in that bullpen, but there are question marks because even Garrett Whitlock missed basically the whole season in 2024. So he has to be able to bounce back. Obviously, Hendricks has to be able to bounce back. Justin Slayton, we know what he has. He's a good arm to have in the bullpen. But my point is that there are some question marks when it comes to these relief pitchers right now. And the Red Sox could help make that pen look a lot more competitive if they were to bring in somebody like Scott. Is he realistic for the Red Sox? I do think so. I think, the Red Sox are definitely going to look into it and see how much he actually costs, because they would be kind of stupid not to do that. But for somebody like him, whose market is probably very intense with lots of teams interested, I could see his asking price being pretty high. But there are teams already with solidified closers, so those teams likely won't be in on him. But this could really help put the Red Sox in a lot better spot, and it would help us to feel like, okay, they have a more complete bullpen now because they bring in a guy who is a solidified closer who pitched in the postseason and has that experience and can come in and be that bona fide ninth inning guy for the Red Sox. Because I knew once Kenley was going to be hitting free agency that the closer position was something they had to address. And I did have my suspicions that they might just try to roll with what they have internally and get somebody who's already on the team to close games, which it sounds like they might try to do. And that would be okay if it all works out. But again, there's always a risk when you don't really know if these guys are going to pan out or not. And so I found that when it comes to this situation, if you look at the bullpen as is, adding Tanner Scott would no doubt make the Red Sox bullpen a lot better. So they have to start making a couple more of these no doubt moves. And those no doubt moves include guys like Tanner Scott and Alex Bregman, because I do feel like they are not going to put much more into their starting rotation. I feel like they are pretty confident in what they're rolling out there this season as far as their starting rotation goes. Now it's just a matter of finally improving the other areas of the roster that need help. And to my understanding, Craig Breslow has been very active on the market this offseason. According to many baseball executives, he's been one of the most active general managers out there in terms of navigating what types of players he wants, reaching out to teams in regards to trades, and reaching out to free agents in regards to what their asking price is. So I don't doubt that Breslow has been busy. It's just a matter of, is he going to get the green light from John Henry to spend the money on somebody like Scott? I would love it if he does, but I'm not seeing that as a definite possibility just because of Henry's behavior and feelings towards investing on pitching. So as much as I would love it, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes elsewhere, and I would be a little bit bummed because that could be the answer to making the Red Sox bullpen a lot more competitive. Because if you think about it, yes, the rotation struggled last season, especially in the second half, and the Red Sox stretching guys out like Crawford, Houck, and Bayo, and them pitching more innings than they were used to was definitely a factor in this. But the bullpen was getting completely worn out, and the same guys were getting rolled out there night after night, and they weren't exactly always the most reliable. And if they want to be a better team, the bullpen is the biggest area to address. They lost a lot of games for the team in the second half last year. So if they can bring in somebody who has solidified numbers, that would only make me feel a lot more confident in the bullpen right now. So we'll see how they do that and what they decide to do. If they roll out there with the bullpen they have, it is still better than last year in regards to the talent and what they know they can get from some of their arms. It just still worries me that there's still question marks. So I'm big on the idea of adding Tanner Scott. I think he would just be a great addition to a Boston Red Sox bullpen that really could use some of those definitive arms who are very effective. But coming up, the Red Sox did make another small trade on Christmas Eve, and I'm going to be going over what that trade entailed next. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W. I love betting on which players will score a touchdown and how many points each team will score. It's thrilling. Not only can you bet on who will win the game, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points each team will score, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. I am telling you, if you are looking to win a lot of money and take advantage of everything it has to offer, I would download FanDuel because you can bet on so many different sports and so many different circumstances within different games so that you have lots of opportunities to win money. So it is the best place for sports betting, I promise you. I also do promise you that the Red Sox are going to be a better team in 2025 than they were in 2024. They have made some moves to help feel a little bit more confident in the team that they're rolling out there on opening day. But the biggest question that remains now is what other moves are they going to make to help really round out the roster and feel like they're not leaving stones unturned and that they don't have holes? That's going to be the next focus for this Red Sox team as we navigate through the rest of the offseason. But they did make a trade on Christmas Eve. They acquired left-handed pitcher Jovani Morán from the Twins in exchange for catcher/first baseman Mickey Gasper. Morán went through Tommy John surgery last offseason, leading to the Twins to non-tender him before re-signing him to another minor league deal. He naturally didn't pitch at all in 2024 while rehabbing, and he'll now look to return to the mound in Boston as the 27-year-old is changing organizations for the first time in his career. He was a 7th-round pick for the Twins in the 2015 draft, and he also missed full minor league seasons in 2016 due to injury, and in 2020, obviously, which was the pandemic-canceled season. He finally made his MLB debut in the form of 8 innings for the Twins in 2021, and he then seemingly broke out with a 2.21 ERA over 40 2/3 relief innings for Minnesota in 2022. Morán supported that strong ERA with a 32.9% strikeout rate and 48.9% grounder rate, yet both his peripherals and his bottom line results went backwards the next year. He had a 5.31 ERA, 41.9% grounder rate, and 26.1% strikeout rate in 42 1/3 frames in 2023. And after being optioned to AAA at the start of August, his season was prematurely ended by a forearm strain in September that led to his eventual Tommy John surgery. Despite the lack of a big fastball, his ability to miss bats and his knack for inducing grounders has helped him achieve success in the minors and obviously in limited fashion at the big league level. Control is his biggest question mark, though, as he has a 13.5% walk rate over his 91 career MLB innings and a 12.36 walk percentage in 257 2/3 innings of minor league ball. So he joins Aroldis Chapman and Justin Wilson as left-handed additions to the Red Sox bullpen mix this offseason, though he's much more of a depth option at this point, depending on his health and his form after the long layoff. While he probably won't be ready for the opening day roster, some time in the minors might help him fully recover and get some innings under his belt before the Red Sox consider him for any possible role in their big league bullpen. So this to them was more of a depth move, just to have another option that they could possibly go to if he ends up being healthy and being able to get himself back to form and figure out the control thing in the minors, and maybe he gets an opportunity to be called up to the majors at some point, but I'm not seeing him as a definite option in the Red Sox bullpen. He did receive some attention from teams heading into the Rule 5 draft. And in fact, it was Mickey Gasper who came to the Red Sox from the Yankees organization in the minor league version of the 2023 Rule 5 draft. The selection resulted in Gasper's first taste of big league action, though he didn't record a hit in his 23 plate appearances over 13 games for the Red Sox in 2024, which was tough because I was looking forward to him coming up, and he had so many opportunities and couldn't record a single hit. And I do feel like it's because he was called up prematurely, because the Red Sox started to not have a choice but to call guys up because of all the injuries they had. So I do feel like he wasn't fully ready for the majors when he got called up. So maybe he'll find some luck here with the Twins. He played first and second base during his brief time in the majors, but the majority of his career has come behind the plate. His ability to both catch and play other positions, primarily first and second, with a handful of games as a third baseman and left fielder, adds to his versatility, also not to mention his switch hitting bat. This creates a possible opening for him to win a bench job in Minnesota as a third catcher and general utility man behind the Twins' catching tandem of Ryan Jeffers and Christian Vasquez. It remains to be seen if the Twins will be able to trade Vasquez and get any of his contract off the books. But if so, he could be a candidate as Jeffers' backup. Gasper was a 27th round pick for the Yankees in the 2018 draft, but he carved a path for himself through New York's farm system with some strong numbers at every step of the minor league ladder. Over an even 1,600 minor league plate appearances, he has hit .275 with a .392 on base percentage and .449 slugging with 48 home runs. And those numbers include 9 home runs and a .317, .422, .498 slash line and 282 plate appearances at the AAA level. So he certainly has shown some potential, but he struggled in his short stint with the Red Sox. The Red Sox must feel like they have enough depth now to where they didn't really need him. So as a result, they traded him to a team that could be looking for another catcher, and they were able to get a pitcher who they're hoping could show some improvement once he comes back and pitches in the minors. But if he doesn't, then it was just a depth move for a player that they didn't even really need anymore anyway. So not a bad trade for the Red Sox as they continue to add to their pitching depth, but we'll keep an eye on what happens moving forward. Do they add another reliever? Do they add a big right-handed bat? And in what form do they do that? We'll have to see as these upcoming weeks progress, but I do appreciate you tuning in to Locked On Red Sox and making it your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On MLB. Baseball guru Sully brings a daily blend of humor and baseball, keeping you updated on every rumor and story throughout the offseason. Find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You will not be disappointed, I promise. Sully's show is awesome, and he does a great job. So tune into that next. Like I always say, though, try your best to keep the faith. Go Red Sox, and I will catch you on the flip side.